all right, so this is supervisor training, running a shift, dynamic supervisor to supervisor. So when you look on the schedule, sometimes you'll see that there are multiple supervisors overlapping on a shift. We do that on purpose. And you'll sometimes see that one is assigned as the shift lead, and then the other one is just assigned supervisor. I cannot say that that's always intentional. So you really want to clarify, hey, do you mean me to be calling the shots on this shift? What does that mean? But primarily we're a collaborative culture. We're a culture where we value permissional leadership. And so at the very baseline, we're working together. If we're supervisors, we understand that we're not entitled to people obeying us, respecting us, anything like that. It's earned, right? And that applies supervisor to supervisor, not just supervisor to employee. So even if you are assigned shift lead, and we intentionally did that, and we say, hey, this is the person, they're senior supervisor, they're running the shift, they're calling the shots. I want them to be the one who has sort of the veto card if there's a disagreement, or if your visions aren't completely lining up, which they never will be, and that's totally fine. So once you figured out, okay, who's the shift lead, who's responsible, a lot of times you can split that up between zones, right? So someone will be running like the front of the store, someone will be running the back of the store, someone will be in the kitchen, things like that. But anyway, I just want to call out that sometimes that's really intentional, sometimes it's not, depends on the season. But regardless, your job as supervisors, when you are assigned to work together, is to make sure you share all of the information, right? You want to share information about the objectives that you've been given by your manager. You want to share information about what are the things that you're seeing that need to be accomplished. And you're going to want to share where you've already positioned people. And this is really important because if someone else is a supervisor, that means employees are already used to them giving instructions. So you don't ever want to put employees in a position where they're like, okay, there's 3 chiefs in the store and we don't know who to listen to, and they're giving us separate information. That is the worst situation to be in as an employee. So, and Chad and I like to joke that back when our business partners were our bosses, one of them would come downstairs. They lived over the shop, and they would say, why is the door shut? This shouldn't be shut. It's not good for sales. Like, open the door. And then the other one would come down and be like, it's freezing in here. We need to close the door. And Chad would just be sitting there going like, cool guys, thanks. Thanks. And we just don't ever want the people that work with us to be put in that position where they have 2 chiefs. So you want to clarify, like, okay, who's calling the shots? Are you calling the shots just in that zone? Or are you calling the shots for the whole shift? What is that? So the way you figure that out is you just talk about it with each other. So even if someone's coming on as a mid-shift and there was an opening supervisor, then there's someone in at noon, or say they come in at 2, you want to pause and have a little powwow and be like, hey, here's where I positioned people. These are the objectives I'm trying to achieve. This is what I'm thinking. And to whatever degree you're passing the baton off to them. So say maybe you overlap for a couple hours and then they're running the rest of the day. You just want to be really sensitive to the fact that, like, okay, don't run anyone over. Don't run the employees over by having multiple chiefs giving contradictory instructions. And then just honor the fact that, like, hey, even if this person isn't the shift lead and they're not calling all the shots right now, there's someone who often does call the shots. And so let's be respectful of that. Let's take into consideration their perspective, what they're seeing, because they're going to have fresh eyes. So you may be like locked in to your vision of like how things should be running. And they might come in and go, oh my gosh, do you realize that the top of the apple case is empty? I think we need to fill that. Like, we know that's really important. And you might go, oh my gosh, I didn't even notice that we sold all of those. Sure, would you mind hopping over in the kitchen and dipping those? So it's just really, really important to talk to each other. Chad and I start every single day. One of the first things we say to each other is, hey, what's your vision of the day? Because we have our preferences, we have our priorities, we have separate objectives we have to achieve, and we have to collaborate on what's going on with our kids, what's going on with the stores, what's going on with the dog, who's cooking today, like how are we doing food, who's commuting here and there, and what problems are fresh, like what problems are you aware of because you went to bed later than I did, that need to be resolved quickly. So just taking a moment to sort through the important and the urgent, the not important and not urgent, and all of those different categories of things together is going to eliminate so many issues, so much anxiety for you together. It's going to build your relationship and the respect and the mutual value you have for each other's contribution. And it's also going to create a relationally safe place for the people who are working under you.